Hello and welcome to another episode of Work 2.0, the podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Wells, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Dan Bulteel. I hope you said that name. I hope I said your name right.
Spot on. One of the very few.
Okay, cool. So Dan, you're joining us from where? Obviously, you're in the UK. We can tell by your accent, just like
100%.
me. Where are you from? As in, like, what company you're from? Tell us about yourself.
Okay, yeah. So originally from Liverpool, so you might pick up the accent, but based in London, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of an AI startup called Meet-Ting. Used to work at TikTok, at ByteDance, Adidas, WPP, lots of big companies, but in the last year had an idea, bet on myself, and yeah, I've been building Meet-Ting since then.
Oh, I love that. It's nothing like betting on yourself. I think a lot of people are scared to bet on themselves, but I tell people it's a whole lot more scary staying in a job where you could be laid off and your future depends on an employer than it is to actually bet on yourself and your future depends on you. Like, there's a sense of freedom and independence that comes with that.
Yeah, the funniest thing is, right, so I've been a first-time founder for about a year now, and the amount of people who have obviously friends and connections, but kind of come out of the blue and been like, oh, can we grab some time and catch up and chat?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then we chat and they're just like, oh, what's it like to be a founder? And I have this idea, but I've never done anything with it. Because I think you're right. I think everyone has that idea, right? They have this thing that they'd always love to go and do.
Yeah.
But for all these different reasons, logistics, life, whatever it may be, they just haven't had that opportunity to take a bet on themselves.
I know. It's a shame. But I think like you've proven, obviously, there's no excuse. Like, you just have to just get out there and do it. Sometimes you just decide, I'm going to wake up and say, I'm just going to place a bet on myself. I'm not going to wait any longer or wait for an opportunity. So tell me something, Dan. Do you believe, so today we're going to be talking about things to do with, obviously, Work 2.0, the podcast, we talk about leadership, we talk about AI, we talk about maximizing productivity and the future of work. And I want to know from you, what are your thoughts on this? Do you believe that time is the greatest commodity a leader or an organization could have and teams could have? And if so, like, explain your thought process on that.
I've got a bit of a hot take on this at the moment, based on everything that's being said and discussed online with AI. I still think our most valuable resource or opportunity is people. Right, so it's still people, but obviously time is a constraint on people. So I think number one, from a leader, make sure it's really clear what you're trying to achieve and what the goals are, and then equip your team with the best possible tools or process to make the use of the time they have available.
Absolutely, yeah. And like, when it comes to when you started like Meet-Ting, can you like kind of talk us through what inspired you to start, obviously outside of just wanting to take a bet on yourself, why Meet-Ting, and kind of how does that answer to that productivity need when it comes to maximizing the best use of people's time?
Yeah, it's quite a personal story, to be honest. So I briefly mentioned in my intro, I've been in a lot of roles. So I've worked at big agencies, I've worked at big brands, I've worked at platforms, I've been in different industries, so entertainment, gaming, sports, and I've also had the opportunity to live across the world. So I've been in China, the US, Brazil, Germany. So I've basically sat in lots of different chairs in all different kind of, junior, founder, executive. So, and I've had a fair share of meetings along the way, and organizational structures and operating models. And the same thing, regardless of, what position I was in or what seat at the table, client or brand or partner or platform, I would get the same 4 emails every single morning, which was, hey, can we reschedule or can we do this? And I would just be like, what is going on? And when you think about it, it's normal, right? You kind of wake up and you look at your calendar and you feel differently to the day you did before or the week when you planned it. And then you just start rescheduling stuff based on what's on fire or what's kind of your priority for the day.
Yeah.
But I do that and you do that and everybody does that. So the whole world wakes up and replans their day. So just one day, after spending half an hour just kind of rescheduling my day, like some meetings are easy, like one-to-one, some are more complex. I was just like, how much time is this for me, and then for my team, and then for my company, and then for the industry I work in, and then just, globally, how much time is calendars just shuffling with each other? And obviously you have all these tools and all these investment and startups. But I just thought, hey, look, where we are right now in the world, surely if I have an AI and it understands like how I make decisions about time, what I value, what I don't value, who my important relationships are, what's my current work context, and everybody had the same system, like calendars can talk to each other and we can just focus on doing the work and being where we need to be when it happens. So that was the vision based on that pain point, and that's what we've been trying to build with Ting. And obviously you can't build something like that overnight, so there's a few different stages that we need to go through, but yeah, we're just trying to get to a place where everyone uses an intelligent calendar system and time gets maximized with less friction and back and forth for us all.
It's quite interesting you say that, and I think it really is a need, because I was looking at research, I think it was from McKinsey recently, like, and I quoted it on Forbes as well, that leaders and managers spend more than 50% of their time on individual contributor work, and also busy work, just that boring admin. And I'm thinking, why are leaders and managers doing that when what they were hired for, they're not really getting the time to do? Like, they're spending a lot of time booking one-to-ones, rescheduling, like you said, and it's a lot of admin going on around meetings and all that stuff, and following up on meetings and all of that, and planning meetings and meetings about meetings, as opposed to actually doing the work. And then they only have, like, I think it was 28% of the time that they spend on people management and people development, which is like their most important work, managing your people, right? Which is your most important resource. And then a very small fraction of the time to spend on strategy, which is what they're hired for. So it's a real shame. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like what you're doing is definitely answering to that need and reducing that busy work and that administrative load.
Yeah, I think so. Similarly, kind of been around the block in lots of different orgs and shares. I think my biggest observation or biggest inefficiency in most companies are just a lack of clarity, right? It's not that the strategy is wrong, it's just that maybe it's not been communicated clearly enough, or it's not been repeated enough that everybody understands exactly what that is. And then what happens when people can't understand the strategy or the plan or the goals? You have lots of meetings, right? So you constantly meet to talk about like progress, whereas actually if you had a clear strategy that was well communicated and everybody knew what their goals were, they can just focus on achieving those goals, kind of innovating in the framework that they've had available, and most communication could be done like async, like if you need to do progress updates. So I think it's a symptom of lack of clarity, just from my experience, and then obviously just like human stuff, like you wake up and you feel a certain way, right? And if you're an introvert, maybe you don't want to have that big meeting in the morning and you need some energy. So there's a bit of humanity wrapped in there too.
I feel also, and maybe it's just me, but do you think it's also a bit of like procrastination? Like, we know there's a big task that needs to be tackled, but then we'll say, just to make us feel like we're doing some work, oh, let's have a meeting about it.
Well, do you know what the really funny thing? So Ting started with this like idea of instant scheduling, which, okay, so we're both on the same calendar network, we both want to meet, and Ting is just going to find the next available slot based on your preferences and goals. So, and that's like, hyper efficient, moving fast. And then we found out that actually people wanted some latency, right? They're like, oh, it's important, but not that important. Can we do it tomorrow or 24 hours? Or so I think you're right. I think sometimes, you need a bit more time, but sometimes you kind of judge, right? You like look at the topic or the person and you're like, oh, that feels like a next week thing. So there's definitely, but that, again, that is the problem with our time-based system right now, is that every second of every single day we're thinking about where we should be, and it's relationship skill, it's ambition, it's goals, it's preferences. It's not just like, when do I have free time? It's all these different layerings. So we can build that system, time can move like according to you and still be efficient.
Yes, absolutely, exactly. So I mean, you're literally like a startup founder, like you're right in the early stages. Would you say your seed stage, your series A, or where are you at the moment?
No, it's really early, so we're at the very start. So we're pre-seed right now. We've been live for 6 months. We've done a lot in 6 months thanks to AI. So we're live in 7 markets. We've got 2,000 users. Yeah, so all of this, and we're a 3-person team, so all of this wouldn't have been possible a year ago, which is nuts. But yeah, still early days for us.
So do you like sometimes wake up and pinch yourself, like, how is it possible you're in 7 markets with a 3-person team? Like, a year from now, you wouldn't have imagined having achieved so much and having, you said, 2,000 users within just 12 months. That's crazy. Do you pinch yourself sometimes?
6 months, yes. In 6 months, yeah. So it's It's funny because you don't really, I think it's very rare that you get to just sit back and be like thankful of what you've achieved, right? Because you're putting out the next fire.
I know.
We try to keep up to date with a Substack, and when we're writing these updates, actually it forces you to be like, oh my god, we achieved a lot, right? Like, and also if I look back, I kind of look at the headlines and they're like, oh yeah, we did that 2 months ago, we did that 3 months ago, but I think we're so focused on just everything ahead that we don't give ourselves a pat on the back. But yeah, we're a small person team, 6 months live, so we're very we're optimistic about the future.
So you said you're on Substack because obviously this podcast will also be primary platform is Substack, and then it also goes on Spotify and Apple. What's your Substack so people can find you?
It's Chief-Ting, Chief Ting. Yeah, so I'm obviously the Chief Ting. There's lots of other Tings, but yeah.
That sounds fun. I think it'll be very memorable for sure. And like, where do you see, now you're at early days, where do you see, apologies for the sirens in the background.
Them.
Cool. Well, you're at early days right now. Where do you see this Meet-Ting in like 5 years from now? Like how far do you see the impact in workplaces and organizations? What's your vision?
I think the thing that we talk about the most is just and it's very simple and basic, but I think actually if you do this, like everything else is easier. We just want to make something that people, when they use it, they're like, wow, this is like good. Right? Like this saves me time, this saves me energy, this like helps my day. So that's like our just like immediate goal, and it will always be our biggest goal. But ultimately, like what we're trying to do is to help more people and businesses get together. In 5 years, I'm hoping we have 1 million users. I think we'll have 50,000 businesses by then. So, but yeah, taking it step by step. But it all just starts with, can we make a great product that solves people's pain?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just final question for me, I always like to end podcasts with like a kind of like a long shot question, looking ahead to the future, thinking about, because that's what Work 2.0 is about, think about the next stage, the future of work. So looking ahead, obviously you mentioned like what you see in the future for Meet-Ting, but looking ahead, what do you feel would be the future of corporate communication and connection? What does that look like for you, like probably 10 years from now? Outside of Meet-Ting, what do you see? What would you envision or predict?
Oh wow, it's such a good question. On the connection piece, I hope everyone's using Ting, right? Because I truly believe if everybody had a calendar that understood what they cared about and it could talk to other calendars, then that's amazing, right? So you kind of meet when you need to meet based on the terms for both of you. I think connection is going to be even more important. The more that we automate everything in our lives, the more that we have agents that are supporting our daily tasks. I think the moments when we come together, we're really going to cherish, right? They're the moments when we level up and we truly creative and original in ways that technology can't be. And from a communication standpoint, I think those central points, those meetings actually will actually move from async to cherishing being together and using those as opportunities to reset, rethink and plan what's coming next. So yeah, I'm hoping technology is going to be a real force for good, and we're going to actually enjoy being together and not enjoying meetings like most people do right now, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, because ultimately I think a lot of people see AI, or technology as the enemy, and it can be if you're using it the wrong way. Like it can definitely stop or obstruct that human connection and relationship building. But when you use it the right way to augment your work, you can actually 100%. Increase that sense of connection and those networking and relationship building that's so critical in businesses and organizations. I think it's really powerful. It's really exciting when you think about what could be achieved.
Somebody said this to me, so I can't. I wish I'd said it. But right now everyone talks about AI for productivity, but actually I think if you think about AI for your potential, right? Like how you've got this other gear that you can get into, you've got this infinite wisdom that can bring out your best and your speed. So yeah, I'm same as you, big optimist for AI.
Well, thank you so much for lending your time. I know you've got a busy, hectic day, and so do I, so I'm not going to keep you. But for those of you who are watching this episode or listening to this episode and you really enjoyed it, feel free to connect with Dan on his Ting. Is it Chief-Ting, right?
Chief-Ting on Substack or meet-ting.com if you want to try the product out.
Lovely, lovely. I know you're looking for people to definitely give feedback on your products as well. So the more feedback you get, the better. So you guys, you can really shape the future of Meet-Ting if you connect with Dan and give him some more feedback. And he would definitely love that and appreciate that for sure. Anyway, that's it for today's episode, guys. I will see you in the next episode. By all means, do not forget to like this episode, share it, comment wherever you are, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, share it with your co-workers and friends, and rate this show, Work 2.0, the podcast. So we can get more viewers, more listeners just like you on here, and hopefully shape the future of whoever the next guest might be on this podcast. Who knows? It might get some suggestions from you. So I'll see you next time on Work 2.0, the podcast.